going on, guys? It's me, Troy, and I'm here again with another video. So thank you so much for commenting, like, and subscribing. Let's go ahead and make this quick. So today I'm going to be sharing the books that I'm going to be reading within the month of April. You know, April is my favorite month. April and September, I love these months because I love freaking spring and I love the beginnings of fall. But I love April in particular because it gets hot after such a long, cold winter. We're not really here in Alabama. But I am going to go ahead and say that I initially wanted to make myself a TBR of books revolving around Asian authors. I was going to title it or hashtag it Asian April, and then I was like, girl, we're going to have to cut that out because that is so corny. I know that I'm a cheese ball, but there is no way that I could go putting hashtag Asian April. I just can't do it. It's just too corny for me. And I was like, you know what? Scratch that. What I'm going to do is I took a note from another booktuber named Remembered Reads, and I put a link to her channel down below. And what I decided to do was, because I read March Mystery Madness as well as Read So Lit, I had a TBR for each of those particular months. I am going to take the remnants of each of those TBRs and compile them and composite them into another TBR that I'm going to try to work on within the month of April, on top of reading one of my favorite Asian or Chinese authors, Nanjing. And it's going to be tentative, as TBRs generally are. It's going to be tentative, girl. Batteries sold separately. Each part sold separately. Batteries not included. Each may contain iron, may contain lead. It's going to be tentative, meaning that if I get distracted, if something has to get out the way, it will just go. We ain't gonna have the complete set. If it's just gonna be, it's just gonna be what it's gonna be. So I'm going to put a picture here somewhere, and this is going to be a picture of the 5 books that I ended up having leftovers from my TBRs from March Mystery Madness as well as Read So Lit. And I'm still going to be participating, well, I won't say participating, but I'm still going to be reading my Paretsky book, which I decided to do. I have 8 left in the series, so I'm going to read 1 a month, and that's just going to be where we're going to go from there. Alright, so jump starting into my catching up with Nanjing. I'm currently reading War Trash, and I am, 74 pages into this book, and of course I absolutely love it. It's about time I read this book because it's been sitting around on my shelf for a long time. Okay, but the point is that I'm always interested in what I'm reading now. So then was not then is then, now is now. That's how I look at things, okay? So this book, to keep it short, and I'm only been 74 pages in, it is about a sophomore at a military academy, a Chinese man who's a sophomore at a military academy who is studying political education. Because of his particular field of education, he is able to speak English. He learns how to speak English. But before he can even graduate, he is enlisted into the Korean War in 1950-51, Korean War, and he, of course, is, you know, there's North Korea and China, then South Korea, and primarily American. So he becomes a POW in an American camp. And now as a POW, and because he is able to speak English, he is that go-between of communication between the American captors of, you know, the North Korean and Chinese POWs in the camp. But I really like how the book jumps off, because although, you know, primarily the story takes place in the 50s during the Korean War, the prologue introduces him as an old man who is living in America, who is getting up in age, who has a family altogether, but who decides at that moment that he wants to write a book about his life. And then that's, of course, when it's not a frame narrative, but that's, of course, when, you know, the flashback sets in into the whole novel. But definitely loving this book. Alright, so next on my list falls very closely. It's actually historically fictional wise. It predates War Trash, and that is Nanjing. I'm not Chinese, girl. I just love to read stuff. Requiem. I had this book since forever. I actually have a receipt. I was looking at this earlier. I actually have a receipt dating back to November of 16 or 2012, but I was only 48 pages in when I started reading this book. And I know exactly why, because back then, when I first started reading this author, I was reading a lot of his contemporary works. So here I was trying to go into his historical fiction work, and it didn't resonate. I couldn't hold on. Imaginatively, I couldn't hold on as well. But my reading muscles have very much strengthened since then. So it's not a thing. But finally, after that many years, I'm gonna pick this book back up and read it. Anyway, this book follows the story of a real historical figure named Minnie Vautrin, I believe. But what it is she's an American. She's the dean of this women's college in China, and she's an American citizen. So here it is during World War II, 1936-37. Japan is cutting their way through. They want to occupy this particular women's college, but Minnie believes that because of her citizenship as an American, that she can be the protectorate of the many Chinese and other individuals inside of this particular college. Really not so much. But the story itself is not really told through her. It's told through her assistant. And this is a book that's based on a real woman, a real historical fiction figure in Minnie, but the assistant is from what I understand, she's pure fiction. So you're looking at Minnie's plight through the assistant's eyes, which is what makes Nanjing Requiem. The last Hajin book that I'm going to read finally after buying it and, not reading it is 2016's release of The Boat Rocker. And this is basically, takes place in 2005. It follows the story of a Chinese American journalist who writes these exposés, I guess you could say, on communists and communism and those potential people who may have some political leanings in that particular area of politics, one including his ex-wife. But as the boat rocker goes, that's someone who likes to shake the ground or whatever and start to stir up things that don't need to be stirred up or that are quickly nullified. So this is going to be an interesting read, and I cannot wait to get into The Boat Rocker as well. And then the last author on this list and last book is something that y'all know how I do. I do what I got to do and read what I want to read, and it don't have to make any sense as long as it's going to be something that I'm going to enjoy. And that is Sailor Moon Volume 3 of the Eternal Collection. This is the most, I love this cover of Sailor Mars, okay? This is a collection that, okay, we already know, Naoko Takeuchi, she's Japanese, see? Keeping with the theme, right? It just came out at the middle of March, and I finally got my copy. But this is the collection that begins the R series, and R is for romance, so basically season 2 of Sailor Moon. But I'm going to read each of these particular chapters or acts per day, similar to what I did in, similar to what I did in book 1 and book 2. And what I'm doing is I read an act and then I watch an episode of the Crystal remake of Sailor Moon. And some people probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but if you do know what I'm talking about, there's no need for me to explain that. But anyway, guys, that is it. I gotta go. I'm gonna go and do some other stuff, which mostly consists of reading books.